morning. Welcome back. You're watching Daybreak on Citizen Television. Thank you for staying with us. The hashtag on Twitter is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya, at Ayub Abdikadir, and at Safin_Achieng. The world is celebrating International Coaching Week, and that is the International Coaching Federation, which runs from the 8th to the 14th of May 2022, with a focus on the role on integral part of a thriving society and the coaching of professionals for a thriving society. With me in studio is the former Cabinet Secretary Sicily Kariuki, who is also an executive leadership coach. Good morning, Waziri.
Good morning, Ayub.
Long time since you left government, may I say?
Indeed. 1 year and a half almost.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll talk about that and how life is outside the tight schedules of government. And you come in your capacity as an executive leadership coach, and the world is celebrating the International Coaching Week, and that is by ICF, which is celebrating 25 years since the advent of the Federation. What are the notable achievements over the years in the 25 years since it was formed?
Well, perhaps, Ayub, thanks for having me here this morning. It's been a while since I've been in these public spaces. And it's always a joy to be able to speak on different topics at different times, anytime I visit the studio. And so perhaps to just put it in context, the International Coaching Federation has chapters, country chapters, in about 156 countries globally, making it then the biggest movement. Within the Federation, there is a membership of certified coaches handling different facets of coaching, which we'll be delving into shortly. And in Kenya, the Kenyan chapter, which is part of this global movement, in total, you are looking at 109,000 certified coaches globally who are members of the Federation. And in Kenya, we are looking at slightly below 300 registered coaches, for which I am very happy to be joining that family, because I have just gotten my certification to practice as a coach, a leadership coach. And so the notable progress is that the industry or the sector or the discipline, whichever way we want to look at it, of coaching, has grown and continues to grow in leaps and bounds. In fact, it's documented to be the second fastest growing industry globally, service industry globally. And looking at the statistics, you're looking at an industry or a discipline which in the last 3 years, 2019 to 2022, that has grown by 54%. So it begins to tell you what is happening, the appetite and the confidence that is being built around the sector, and the acceptance generally that any one of us can do with a partner who is a professional to be able to help them to have better clarity in terms of the journeys they are walking, better clarity in terms of how they are managing their routine, their days, their workplaces, their families, better energies being spent in the right spaces to be able to get more fulfilling outcomes either in the professional or in the personal lives. So it continues to grow. It continues to attract attention in terms of the client base, but also the practitioners who are coming in. Okay.
Then when you talk about that coaching, which majorly focuses on the power and focus on professionalism, in your view, is it a silver bullet to effective leadership? We'll come down to the specific and, of course, in our context of constitutional jurisprudence as to what needs to happen in terms of outgrowing the capacities of our institutions. But how does it inform effective leadership?
Well, in several ways, and I will perhaps restrict myself to speaking about leadership or executive coaching, because then you have other branches, you have life coaches, you have sports coaches, you have coaches who are looking at health and wellness, and you have the whole range of it. My specific space is executive leadership coaching, and therefore I could remain with that for a bit of time. And I want you to appreciate coaching for how it's been defined, and then you are able to progress and carry Kenyans from there. It is defined as a partnership between I, your coach, and you, the client, to be able to co-create a relationship that gives you support to walk to your destination by creating a safe space for you. What does that mean? It means that I'm not coming in as a cabinet secretary, former, to be able to tell you I'm mentoring you because when I was there, I did this and it worked and therefore try it. That is mentorship. And coaching is quite different from this, because I am coming into your space with your permission, in the belief that you have potential inside of you, Ayub, that you are not able to kind of get off or get to identify yourself. So I'm coming in as a partner to co-create and give you the confidence to tap into that potential that is latent and that is hidden in you, to be able to maximize the potential that lies in you. So effectively a sounding board, effectively a partner, effectively somebody that you trust can walk with you and you can speak with, and they can be able to help you through a journey of exploration for you to be able to then actually answer to your own requirements as a leader. Now, within that very broad context or definition, how is it then useful in the workplace? And workplace could be my own business, it could be here, a citizen where you're working. It helps in terms of building trust. It helps you in terms of team effectiveness. Whenever there is trust, whether it is vertical or horizontal, then you have more effective working relationship. You also get to benefit by way of becoming more effective in communicating. And because you are in an environment where you're not judged, and you're able to explore, and you're able to try stuff that you didn't otherwise try. But importantly, it gives you the sense of owning the actions that you take finally. I only come in as a coach to be your accountability partner, but you own, because once you explore, you are able to actually go to the limit that you wouldn't have gone if I didn't kind of drive you to explore and get the best that is latent in you. What that means, and it is documented, therefore, is that productivity in the workplace goes up. Because then effective communication, effective teamwork, a leadership that is not commanding and controlling, you are then able to actually exhibit higher productivity. A Harvard Business Review journal has documented productivity where a culture of coaching has been embedded to have gone up by 44%, and that is high. So overall, you end up with a win-win situation.
So basically, it's the exploration of the deposits within the ability of a person that you bring forth for productivity purposes, and there's a focus and which is upholding integrity and professionalism via lifelong learning, I understand, by the International Coaching Federation. Before we come to that, because we have an entire chapter in our constitution on leadership and integrity, which we ingrained, when you talk about that coming on board of the exploration you want to do to that particular person to bring the best out of him, what then is the difference? For example, if that person is a holder of a public office, as you did in your previous assignment, and what then happens to his qualifications from, say, a university that made him qualify for that job? What difference does it do to that qualification when you go to him, reach out to him, and explore what lies in him? Where does the line lie in terms of the difference?
If I understand the question, you want to draw a parallel between our own legal framework within the workspace and now what ICF is offering. Is that? Okay, so let me take a step back and say that I have been in the public spaces and have been guided by rules, regulations, laws that we all as Kenyans, not just the leaders, should abide to. But here comes a global movement which is also saying, well, that is okay. Sicily is expected to abide by the rules of this country. But then we have a code of ethics under the ICF, which now gives you the bolts and nuts, drills down the behavior of a certified or a qualified coach who is practicing. And within that is the issues of ethical standards. That is just one of them. And it is all documented in the ICF, code of ethics. So again, just like any society or any organization, you are bound by bylaws that are the smaller, whatever is broken down from the bigger framework of how human beings should relate. And you are required to abide by that, and you become the mirror, and the chapter and your colleagues and the clients become the mirror to how you're responding to that. But that is only one of the requirements of you as a practitioner. There are several others.
Okay.
I can mention there are actually 8 in total, so ethical behavior is just one of them.
Okay.
The others touch on issues like you are required to be an active listener. I don't come to you, Ayub, you are working here. I'm helping you to find the best outcome because you understand you where the shoe pinches.
Yep.
I can't come and discover what it is you need to do.
Yeah.
Now, we are coming from a situation where, like in the public sector or even in corporates who are very profit motivated, we do what is called command and control. The leader knows it all. I come and tell you this is what you're doing today, this week, these are the outcomes, and go for it. You don't do it, you know? I've had leaders say, your letter of resignation comes with your letter of employment. Now, that is not an environment where you want to optimize the productivity of these people, isn't it? So active listening is one of the competencies which is very core and which I have since learned as I've been walking through this journey. You listen, so I can detect, I can sense, I can pick your emotions, and I can be able then to help you explore by reflecting and, you know, deferring back to you. Another competence which is very key is one of creating a safe space, creating safety for you to be able then to empty yourself, for me then to be able to reflect and get it back to you to go through on that journey of exploration. Another one is maintaining presence. Ayub, we speak, and because you're a journalist, you speak verbally. But there's so much talking, but just looking at me, just looking at me, you. Sensing the emotions you may be going through, the facial expressions, the nonverbal cues, which tell me there could be something that I need to help you extract that you may not do. So that's another competence. You have other competences like maintaining agreement. Look, you're in a sector which is not very well regulated at this point in time. How will you discern that Sicily can make you a better coach than Jane out there? You know, because there are quirks in every situation. You could get somebody who has not mastered the skills and the competencies I'm talking about, meaning you may not get the value that you otherwise would get from a qualified, you know, coach. And the week that we are celebrating, since Monday through to 14th, the International Coaching Week is one that helps us to ask you, the client, while you appreciate the value of coaching, please be discerning to go to the coaches who are qualified or certified, you know, so that you then get value because, you know, it's a business really. And if you come to me and I charge you and you don't get value to get to your destination, then it's a waste of time. So we're creating awareness in two or several ways. One, for us to appreciate the important significance of coaching as a discipline. But number two, to also ask you to appreciate that there are qualified and certified people who can help you get, you know, better outcome, better productivity, better work-life balance, and also be able to manage in these very stressful work situations.
Better productivity, which all after that informs a thriving society, a society that is built upon the very foundations of integrity and professionalism. And that's what you strive to do, I understand, under the consortium. I mean, we have ingrained in our constitution an entire chapter on leadership and integrity. But you agree with me that some of the concerns when you read through the reports by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission or other bodies that are mandated to look into the conduct of professionals who hold institutions in this country are people who have the competencies, are people who have the qualifications, are people who merit those positions. But in the end, they are implicated and otherwise as evidently put in mega corruption scandals. What then is needed? Because if we have the capacity of the law that is ingrained, if we have the qualifications from this personnel, I mean, what leads a person who holds a public office, for example, to go that length of plundering public resources?
Well, I call it sheer bad manners and lack of morals and ethics and greed. And that is not what society was meant to be. It's not purely a Kenyan problem. It's a human problem because you get it in other countries as you move. I call it just sheer bad manners and lack of humanity. While I may not, you know, move into that direction too much at this point in time, what we are saying as coaches who have sworn or signed on to the ICF Code of Ethics, we will be the example that you can do business, you can relate, you can partner, you can make money without necessarily getting that which is not yours.
Yeah.
And that is why, in addition to the overarching legal framework, we are bound by the ethical, the Code of Ethics under the ICF. Just to give us another layer, but they are still good Kenyans.
Yeah.
They are still good people.
Of course, no blanket condemnation. Yeah.
And that is why the media becomes a very useful partner, because the more you spotlight, the more you speak about issues of ethics and, getting away from these very bad manners. The more you are listened to, and the more the generations behind us are going to take it as a value that was meant to be, and that ought to be.
Is there then a focus or a segmentation, because professional coaching is on leadership, and leadership descends down on many aspects and spheres of the society. In this context then, does ICF focus on the very, very different segmented spheres of lives across the world? Because this is a week-long event across the world happening, and you said that there are various instances at which different countries are holding this very important event.
So the entire globe is celebrating this week. Every chapter is celebrating, But to come back to the matter that you raise, is that ICF does not determine or dictate the segment or the area that you specialize and get into. It is you, the practitioner, who chooses. You could choose, for example, to in my case, you could choose to remain within the women leadership space, because then I'm passionate about it, because, I think I can add value being a leader, a female leader. You could also choose to deal with the youth. You could choose to deal with people who are transitioning. My transition from the public sector to the private sector. If I knew better, I would have perhaps had a coach. It would have been, a lot easier when I have a sounding board and a partner who could tell me explore that and explore this. You could also choose to go into wellness. It's a big thing now. You could go into issues of work-life balance and people who are struggling, to manage stress. You could also go into marriages. You could go into divorce spaces. So it is you who chooses the area that you practice in. I have chosen to remain within the leadership and executive space because that is what I know best. I've put in over 10,000 hours, being in that space. So I think that my lived experience and the experience that I've picked and the new knowledge and skill set after I have gone through my training as a leadership coach will benefit, because then I'm able to help you to tap into your latent potential and to be able to be your best version, as it were. And
on that executive part, is it what we need most in this case? And earlier on we talked about this. Because if it's a lifelong learning, as you have said, out of the public space now into the private space, is it one thing that we need? Because you look at the leadership in our country, and there are many concerns when you hear what the public is crying about, especially on the direction that we normally head, because the mandate is normally accorded to a group of Kenyans on behalf of others to exercise the power that the Constitution guarantees the people of Kenya. Is coaching an important bit and component that is perhaps remaining for us to get the effective leadership that we need in this country?
I really think it is, and I really think that and believe that any one of us can benefit from coaching, even you. And sooner or later, I'm coming back to pitch to the management of Citizen and the media, because I think also the media could benefit. And how would we benefit? We'll benefit by, if you will, getting somebody who is independent away from you to be able to say, the way we are reporting and the way we are driving the country, perhaps you want to look at it differently to be able to carry Kenyans, because we all have a responsibility, and help you to explore that which has not been done from the media space. So each and every one of us can benefit. Had I known this 5 years, or 10 years as I went into cabinet, I would have really worked alongside a coach, because it brings such value to the extent that I have quoted Harvard Business Review journal, 44% is phenomenal. And then you create a conducive work environment that you are not backing for people to work. They know what they are doing. They enjoy the work-life balance. And it becomes a harmonious working space. Now, why I think especially the leaders, senior leaders in public spaces need this, is because we are still using the command and control kind of leadership style that belonged to the Industrial Revolution age, 200 years ago, when you would walk around, supervising what the labor is doing and backing down at them and getting them targets, and they would do exactly what is minimum. But had you allowed them to own the processes, few valued, you would have actually more than doubled the work that they were outputting then. They would not be, exposed to the kind of things that we read about. 200 years later, leadership must speak differently and must relate with the subjects if they consider them subject differently. Why do I say that? Ayub, when I look at you, I doubt somebody can back down at you and you remain. We don't have the patience that our parents had. It was hard labor. They had, they toiled. They went sweating. They didn't know better. Now, with the IT revolution, the technology, I don't think the millennials and the people that are in the labor market now, are gonna remain. That is why we are dealing with what is being called quiet quitting. Okay. This is not my space, not meant for me, and I vacate and I leave. I'd rather be without a job, but she can't come and talk to me like that. And that is the environment we are in. It means we have to empower the people who we are working with or who are working with us, and they must feel that they are part of the whole, to then tap into their creative genius. Because I said every one of us has a creative genius. Coaching helps you to tap into that. Coaching helps you to enjoy tapping into that and getting more creative, more innovative, enjoying the work that you are in, and doing just what is right for as a human being. So each and every one of us, I'll be pitching. I'll be pitching because I consider myself privileged where I have been and perhaps where I may be going, because then I'm able to say the way I saw it there's a better way of it being done. The way I did it there, I should have known better and have done it differently. So I will be hopefully having conversation even with the people in the public spaces and be able to actually show them the value of leading differently. And that's why I'm in this space today.
And you have talked about what in my view is a toxic working environment, which in many aspects creates psychological warfare amongst the staff. What, from your understanding then, as a practitioner with this very global organization, are the causes of that? Is it because the bosses don't understand their juniors and creating therefore that environment where their juniors cannot be productive, where they cannot explore their ideas, where they can't be creative? And how then do you bridge, if you come to this space, for more understanding and bridge between the bosses and the juniors for better productivity of a said organization?
Well, it's several things, and that's a brilliant question and observation. It's several things all coming together. One, when you are in a culture where continuous learning is not encouraged, it means you belong to that age, which I spoke about. It means you don't know how the globe is moving. It means you don't appreciate the implication of behaving in a certain way. Number two, the issue of the multi-generational workforce is one that we have also not explored deeply to come and say. So what makes the young people, the ages of my son or my daughter now, when I am the boss, what makes them come and say hi and it offends me? It's because the barrier between a boss who knows it all and this young person who is rallying to bring out their innovative genius, their creativity, does not feel understood. And for him, he's not being impolite. But if you belong to that age, it sounds like, what's the issue? If you come and you're dressed in a certain way, you're judged. Now, when you're judged, what happens? You withhold. You're not given any psychological safety, and there's no space for you then to move. So you don't move to give your optimal very best. Okay. So there is a misunderstanding because of that, the intergenerational disconnect. But importantly, we also think when I came into the job market, information was power, and you withheld it, and it made you look intelligent. It's no longer the case. Go to Mr. Google today. Any bit of detail of information you want today, you'll get it. So what value do I bring? My smallness is to project myself as a Mr. or Mrs. Know-it-all. We are no longer in that era. Now, the younger people, again, feel if they are not enticed, their work-life balance issues are not taken care of, they will not sit one more day, one more week in that job market. And that is why, while we are saying there is a problem with unemployment, there is also a lot of people who are refusing or young people walking away from opportunities that would otherwise be available. So it's really a combination of everything. A learning culture by leaders, continuous learning, continuous reflection as a leader, continuously telling yourself, I must not know everything. In coaching, we say, be comfortable with not knowing. As a leader, be comfortable with not knowing. The people around us, younger than us, may know so much more, because we are in an era where your technical expertise is good, but it will not get you to be a good leader. You could be the best doctor there possibly could be. Does that make you a good leader? The answer is no. You could be the best sales manager and you bring targets which are 100% beyond. Does that make you a good leader? No. So there is something around you that it requires for you to open up, embrace all the viewpoints, and consult continuously. And for you to do that, it means your emotional intelligence must be so very high. Your self-awareness and the awareness of others around you must be so very high. Again, a very learnable skill, one which, again, I've been privileged to have gone to learn in the time that I've been away. Because then it helps you to mirror, and it helps you to help the next person, but it helps you to also help yourself.
Okay. Yes. And then how does this international federation, Kenya being a representation, just a drop in the ocean of the community of nations, inform a diverse, equal, just and a progressive world as a whole?
Well, generally put, if through the work of coaches and the Kenyan chapter and the practicing coaches, if they are able to impact one more person, to be able to live by the ethical standards, to be able to embrace diversity in the workplace and get everybody involved in owning productivity in the workplace, I think that they will be directly contributing to that bigger global movement. Yes. And
of course, when talking about a just and inclusive society, there's problem with leadership everywhere, from the Americas, Europe, Asia, and also in Africa. One final question. Waziri, may I say, you served in cabinet, now out of government, and a current cabinet minister is launching a book tomorrow detailing the behind-the-scenes intrigues, and you were in President Kenyatta's cabinet before you left office. And many Kenyans would want to understand perhaps behind the curtains events and perhaps what happened towards the election day and your reflections. Would you mind putting that into a book for the Kenyan people to understand? You'll be pleased to know that I will be unveiling my own book as well, sooner or later, one that can speak to leaders directly, but that which also paints as an inspiration, that will be painted as an inspiration to somebody who comes from the kind of background that I came from and ended up, in the spaces that I ended up being. And that's why I'm giving back. The book for me will be one that is one to just motivate people that will see possibilities, because there are possibilities for as long as you kind of are keep on the narrow path. And with no intent of letting the cat out of the bag, will it also detail the two offices you held, water, sanitation and irrigation and health before that, and also what transpired largely at the cabinet level, your interactions with the head of state, how power works, because normally the cabinet meetings happen at State House?
I may not go into the power games. As you can tell, my humbleness doesn't allow me to play power. I don't play power. So I'll be more looking at my journey. It's been a very eventful journey. I was a cabinet for youth and gender and public service before I moved into health, and before I moved into water. Before that, I was a principal secretary. Before that, I was a CEO in the private sector and the public sector. So it's a journey that I will be picking the misses that I think, when I look back, the misses that I had, but it also be looking at opportunities that I had. But importantly, to be looking at conversation around legacy and what I managed to do and walk with my head high up to now, and just become a very ordinary citizen and enjoying being a very ordinary citizen now, trying to impact and multiply leaders in the capacity that I occupy currently.
As you are at the moment.
Yeah.
Honorable Sicily Kariuki, thank you for your time. And we look forward to many more engagements and, of course, the book, which will be, I believe, a source of information, informative and a gripping one, perhaps, for that matter. Many thanks for your time and joining us here on the broadcast.
Thank you for having me.
Asante sana. Thank you to you too for watching the broadcast and waking up with us on the broadcast at 6 a.m. Up next after the break is Willis Raburu, who will be running through his segment up until 9 a.m. And there is a topic that he codenamed Electronic Waste. He'll tell you more about that after the break here on the broadcast. The hashtag on Twitter is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya, at Ayub Abdikadir, at Safin_Cheng. And now, on top of that, at Willis Raburu. We'll see you next week by the grace of God. Good morning.